What you're about to hear may shock you. The following information is never found in the marketing of high-ticket sales but will be learned through reality. If you'd rather not hear the truth, leave now or forever hold your peace.
Did I mention? I'm speaking from a different dimension. Did I mention?
It's episode 5 of the High Ticket Snails podcast. With me, as always, Charlie Free, and my co-host, Gary Garland. Gary, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Charlie. It's a great Friday here, isn't it?
You know what's coming, Gary? Every single week, I'm going to make that Gary Garland more intent, and I'm just getting a bit concerned where I'll be at episode 10. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you might need a better room for that. You know, some soundboard. You know, your other half might not like to hear that all day. You know.
Fuck it. Yeah, we're a team. Gary, tell me, how's life going for you this week?
Good. The weather's been beautiful. You know, so we're just vibing.
I mean, that's the way, bro. We're vibing. I mean, there's definitely, I don't know how else to describe it, but high vibration, increase of vibration, ascension of vibration happening. What are the numbers saying this week? How are we looking?
Yeah, I mean, we're holding consistent. You know, we're probably up another 100 to 200% this week. So it's good. We're seeing growth. We're getting more followers. We're getting, more positive reviews from our listeners, right? That's the critical part of this. Like, we didn't do this just for fun. This was intentional to really help people in this industry, right? So, we were talking earlier on how all the shit we hear about on a daily basis about different things that are happening within the space that are ultimately not being handled properly by egotistical people that do not want to teach people effectively on how to get in the space. They're just there to make money, right?
Yeah, that brings me to this. This brings me to, and I messaged Gary this week, and it was, so for those that want to know, it's like, how does this show produce itself? Spontaneously. That's how it works. To me, true creation and purity comes from spontaneity. So the good thing about this is we always record this on a Friday and we always release it on a Monday. And so Friday gives us the data of the week. So we look kind of like the news. We're giving the cutting edge data feedback of what's happening in the market of high ticket sales. And there's a lot that I can't say in details for non-disclosure reasons, and it also just wouldn't be in good taste, but we can talk about the general themes. One of them was, what is the hidden cost of revenue? And if you're in sales, you understand that one of the leverage points that you use, if someone says, I can't afford this, you can say, well, what's the cost if you don't go ahead and do this?
But Charlie, before we answer that, if you're watching this right now, you need to like, subscribe, and you need to comment on here that you're watching. It's so important for people in this space to hear this, because I'm telling you, if they're not hearing this, they're the ones that are going to get burnt. They're going to lose money. They're not going to get that position they're looking for. They're not going to get what they need if they're not listening. So the more reach we get to, the more people we get to, that's where we're at, right, Charlie?
Emotional, damn it.
Damn right. I guess that was right. You should have cut me off there, because that's why it's very valuable to have you here, Gary. Because when I start going on this riff and I'm speaking about it, you're the adhesive. You are, what do they call it? Maybe you're grip fill. You know what grip fill is?
Yeah. I'm the super glue, man. We got to keep this thing together.
Yeah. So well, here's the theme, right? So the theme is, what's the hidden cost? So one thing that I've never been inclined to share too much, I also think there's an area of this in energy, right? Like you want to be careful about how much you share. about the numerical figures of what maybe you earn, right? Or what you generate. But in this space, it can quite easily be fabricated. So it doesn't really have too much meaning unless it's not people just buying into it. But then it also, if you say, hey, I've done 10 million revenue generated or whatever it is, there is a much deeper hidden reality of what's underneath revenue. Now, the ideal situation that revenue leads to cash collected, so real cash landing in the bank, and revenue, of course, coming from clients that pay you for a product or a service, and they get what they pay for. If you order something from Amazon, you're going to get what you pay for. If you don't, you're either going to get a refund, you're going to get an exchange. It's pretty clear and simple. If there is a scam going on Amazon, it's found out pretty quickly and then it's pulled up, right? There's regulation there. In this space, we're moving so fast. This is the pace of the internet. There's things that I don't want to talk about in the themes of this show, but you can just see world-shaking events happen, and then next week people tend to forget about it. So here's the point I'm making, Gary. What does revenue actually mean? What's behind revenue? And there's two things that I wanted to give people this week. It's the two components to look at with a company if, upon the condition, you want the best possible position to earn and you're looking for the greatest opportunity. In my perspective, I'll go into in just a moment, but revenue isn't necessarily a measurement of success. If someone's got 100 million in revenue generated, but they have 70+% negative feedback and reviews from the revenue, and then a ton of chargebacks, and I don't know, Gary, maybe court cases going on, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, people get sued every day. I mean, even mine and your personal experience, right? Like, we've both paid for coaching programs, and did we get exactly what we needed out of them? No. Like, I ended up, especially for me, I ended up finding my own path one way or another. The connections I built through that path was more valuable to me than it was what I spent on the program long term, right? So I think for a lot of people, what you don't realize is the little things around those programs. Like, take the best things you can out of them. But our goal sitting here today is to make that experience better for people so that they do go into positions that make sense. There's so many companies, like you said, with revenue, right, that they fabricate that. How many times have I seen that? Way too many. And with that being said, you have to like show me the money type of thing in some of these situations. But it does go in the same aspect. Like, I know in 6 months I did $500,000 revenue for a company, right? My cash collected was like 10, 20 grand, something like that, whatever it was in percentages. But yes, that company made $500,000 off me, but I could go to some other company on those numbers and tell them I did $1 million in that 6 months. But there's no proof of it. And that's scary about this industry because it is moving so fast.
Yeah, and I think that there's a different priority depending on what seat you're in. And again, for me, it's not like there's a wrong or a right. This doesn't come from a place of judgment. That would be a confused and a deluded interpretation of what I'm saying. It'd be conflated, to be more specific. What I'm saying is, specifically, I'm speaking from my experience and what drives me. So
right.
I know the source of income is the number one thing to protect. So the source of income is your prospective clients that become clients because they've paid you. So not to be mistaken as the customer is always right, very much not to be mistaken for that. But they pay for, especially in high ticket sales, this is all it is. It's all it's ever going to be until proven otherwise with the advancement of technology where you can maybe touch things through, what do you call that, haptic feedback? You get those kind of gloves.
Yeah.
and you interact in VR worlds. But like, for the reality is, people are sold ideas and concepts. Now, people are selling ideas and concepts through, typically, if you've listened to one person sales training, you've heard them all. Everyone's selling in the same way, and they're focused on just selling. So it misses the holistic nature of everything, how symbiosis works.
The human element.
Say that again.
The human element is missing in most of these situations.
Yeah. There's a lack of grounding in that sales room or on that phone call. And just to be clear, that's likely happening because way beyond high ticket sales, everyone's pressured by the economy. I mean, there's so many rabbit holes fucking Charlie can run down, yeah, about like the enslavement of the system. But to keep this like simple and on point, the reality is you are going to see the result reflect the meaning, intention, and purpose of what someone's doing. And for me, I'm prioritizing those that pay. My philosophy is who's paying. Let's make sure first that they get that. Now, business-wise, I might not be the greatest marketer. I might not draw a lot of new clients to me. I understand the game and everyone plays a role. This is mine. Mine is specifically this. So I'm looking at that. What's not the case across the industry for the most part is they are prioritizing the client. No, they're prioritizing the business, which typically is just an individual or a few of them. They're prioritizing money. And that's working perfectly, right, Gary? That's working amazingly in the industry. What do you think?
I mean, it may in their eyes be making it be perfect, but for the consumer, the person that's trying to learn this stuff and go into the space, it's not, because they're not making the money they want to make. You know, I think the hard part of like anything is when, like, you know, we could go back to like those business owners. If you go back to last week's episode, we talked about desperation so much. It does come back to that in a way, because those business owners need revenue to come in for them to be successful. They need more students, right? But those students have an obligation to themselves that, okay, I spent this amount of money to be in this program. I need to make that money back when I get into the job force. And they get these tools. And like you said, you focus on your students, right? A lot more heavy than some people may. They get them in, they get them out type of situation, which is a lot of the business model. And it's not horrible, right? They teach them how to sell. They give them the tools, but there's so many of those little things that you do with people that a lot of these trainings do not do. I've sat through a few of them. And I think that the big disconnect is that we're not putting people, like in a lot of these coaching businesses, they're not putting people in the right positions within companies that they can be successful. Because, like, I mean, even with the offer that me and you were on, right? How many sales reps went through there that couldn't sell that product, and I could sell it just fine? Or the other guy in the room, right? And I might be going down a weird path here, but the way that I look at this is the fact that it's super important that as we put people in these paths, that they're able to be successful and get a rate of return on their investment.
Yeah, because there's a disadvantage if, and this is what's important about any leadership. Leadership is a common theme for me. Leadership's such an important skill. Leadership is not management. Everyone's had a manager that's an arsehole. Yeah?
Right.
Story time. Here's a story. There was a guy, when I was working at McDonald's, there was a guy, shout out Richard, I'm going to mention his name, fucking legend, yeah? Legend of a guy, good manager. I'm not going to say the other guy. But the case for me of what I've always experienced is good managers leave. Yeah, they're good for a reason. And then he left for whatever reason. And then, long story short, they brought in some absolute dickhead. And there was a time, Gary, he came up to me. I'm small. I'm short. I'm working at McDonald's. Right? But it's like, don't fuck with me. Seriously, don't fuck with me. And I remember this guy came up to me and he slammed his hands on my shoulders. And he was like, he had to look at my name tag. Yeah. It was like, Charlie, my man. He just condescended me. And I was thinking, like, there's a fire that burned through my body. I was like, why the fuck are you touching me and slamming me on my shoulders like that right now? Like, there was this burning rage. He was gone out of that role after 2 weeks because he was found pulling money from the till. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's always good.
Yeah, you look at these characteristics. Management is easy. Leadership is, I think I'm inspired by Tony Robbins. I'm inspired by Gordon Ramsay. You can watch Being Gordon Ramsay on Netflix. It's a great documentary. You can see that. Leadership is a different skill. So when leadership isn't there, what tends to happen is what can become like a great burden of responsibility. With great power, as Uncle Ben said, comes great responsibility. And leadership, what I've seen many times before, is they will place individuals into positions that they're never going to succeed in. And it's not necessarily full account for the individual. Often it's actually more responsibility on leadership to put them in that position. So with the team in question here, just as an example, there was people that were on that sales team selling to blue collar business owners. If you got anyone below 40, I mean, that was quite rare. So everyone's older. So when young lads getting into high ticket sales that are born in a different generation that weren't even like, what do you call it? Gen Z? I don't know. I hear that term a lot.
Gen Z is behind us. Yeah.
Those motherfuckers, trying to sell to blue collar construction workers that are like, who the fuck's is ringing me? And they're trying to go through their little scripted process. Like, that to me is a complete irresponsibility and a mismatch of recruitment, right? So to your point, Gary, of which, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I think you're alluding to is how important it is you pick the right path for you. You ensure that you get alignment with the path that enables you to succeed, because your lack of success might not be down completely to you, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. Now, I was on an offer where I would say 60% of the offer, like the people that work there, were all friends. So what do you think the biggest thing missing was because of that?
You're probably fucking honesty and directness, and
there was no, yeah, exactly, because there was no leadership.
Yeah.
Because they were all too buddy to say, hey, this guy shouldn't be managing my team. This, you know what I mean? Like, and then that manager would then bring in his friends. And then it became a shit show. Yeah. I don't even know if they're still in business to this day, to be honest with you, right? I was one of the first ones out. Like, I mean, I made some money there, not a ton, but I did make money. But I was just a setter. I just dial and smile and move on with my day, right? But the thing was, there was a continual denomination of deals were not closing, right? And they kept having their own ideas of how these deals should be closing and blah, 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 and this and that, right? And it ultimately failed in the long run, because I know that at least 2 of them have moved on to other things and they're successful now. But they weren't friends. They technically were my friends, but it wasn't, we were kind of the outcasts on that team, right? Mm-hmm. So when you walk into those types of things, a lot of these business owners, I find with these small businesses startup, they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot, you know what I mean? So they do utilize friends and family and stuff like that to build the business, right? Which I don't see anything wrong with that. But a good leader will build their people up. They'll bring in the right staff. They'll bring in a new salesperson. They'll build them up and they'll support them through that. I've seen way too many times where they don't do that. And that's why people fail. Like, they don't end up on the right path because they fail through things that are out of their control, like you just said. And it's scary.
Do you know what's also crazy for me? Because you can run it like that and still, and this is highly speculative because like it's generalized, but you can still do profit, right? And to me, yeah. I look at it like this. If I think about a tribe, and they, disclaimer warning, if you're a vegan, switch off now. just so it's kind of like what's coming. But if you're a tribe, everything of the animal is used. absolutely everything is used. I mean everything. Yeah. So nothing is wasted. And if I look at regenerative farming, like everything is efficient. If I look at any natural process, there isn't any waste. And if it is, if you think about, not to get too graphic, but look at what happens with cows in a field, what happens with the recycling of the nature that is God's design. Yeah, it's done to help regrow, rebuild, fertilize. So there is massive benefit to having an efficient system. To me, in sales, how that transfers is low churn. You're always going to get a little bit of churn. That's of staff, that's of team members. But your goal is not measured by like how many staff that you've had. How long have you had staff? Yeah, and you know there's discrepancies here, but how efficient can you be? Just because it's a good example, just so people know, we're using examples because it's important to speak from experience, not theory. This podcast needs to be established in experience, tangible, real events. That's also what's important about the mailing list. You can go to highticketsnails.com, get the Monday mail. Everyone reading that mail, it's written as it's sent. Never scheduled, never AI, never from speculation. And me and Gary was on a team where, get ready for this. Yeah, I almost need a little sound effect. Whew. 10% close rate was what was expected of you. Right? 10% of a close rate. And what's good about that in theory is, oh, fucking hell, my KPI is 10% close rate. But why it was 10% is because so much of the process holistically was out of place that 10% become the lower denominator of realism rather than what tends to be industry average, which is 30%. So imagine, depends on what lever you want to pull, imagine without doing anything different in the sales process, what we can do to increase that to a 30% KPI close rate. If we change, if we talk about the trifecta, it's going to be something in marketing or something in fulfillment. And in this case, it's probably going to be like marketing positioning. But the reality is, it's like you can get into a chaotic environment, no matter how you start in this industry. There is so much that isn't in this high state of performance achievement, but you can still profit. So the margin for error is unbelievable in this industry. So if you're coming into it and you're wondering, like, you know, how high the bar is underground. That's how fucking high the bar is. It's underneath the earth. The bar is so low in this industry. And my mission and purpose, and you'll see this more and more, is to raise the standards of it by understanding how to incorporate intelligent, intuitive, scalable, sustainable design in business, which is really relationships and leadership. And to this point here, Gary, this is what I'd like to actually ask you. Do you know, outside of high ticket sales, just like genuine question, do you know any examples of organizations that you think of that are run with great leaders and seemingly, from what we know on the outside, are growing and expanding and they're great companies?
Yeah, I mean, the corporation the last corporate job I had, I mean, we, like, for a while there, we were doing really good. It was one of those things that we were able to grow on a 3 to 5% on $100 million a year, right? Like, consistently. The CEO was brilliant, right? There was some things within that really were a struggle, right? Because the one thing that they lacked, in my personal opinion, they didn't know how to change with the market, right? But they were getting enough right that the company was still profitable. Were they profitable to the point where I thought they should be? No. But like you said, even in this space, in high ticket sales, you could be successful at 10%. Is it going to pay your bills? Yes. But is it going to get you where you want to go sitting on a beach every month? Probably not.
Mm.
10% ain't going to do it, right? Especially if the offer is only paying you 10% on $5,000, you know, you still got to sell 10 of those to get $5,000, right? But those companies, most companies operate at a 25 to 30% close rate, especially in the B2B space. The B2C, some of those, depending on like we've talked about Andrew Tate a million times, I bet his close rate's even higher. I bet he's in the 40 to 50% for some of his sales reps because the power of him, right?
Mm. Yeah, there's levels. Like there is, so like, great segue. Two main things that I'm looking at. Number one, marketing, yeah? There's levels of marketing. Typically, if your energy goes into marketing, this is the universal laws of energy. If it goes into one thing, it diminishes in another. It's just the way that energy works. If you cut all the vines off a pumpkin patch and you leave one pumpkin, you're going to get one massive pumpkin. That's it. So if you've got really great marketing, look for the indicator that sales and or fulfillment or both are going to lack somewhere. So that's just a caveat there. But great marketing to me in this time where AI, and I sent that to Gary the other day about what's happening with ChatGPT ads. There's a future there. But you're going to be able to do great marketing without it meaning anything. If you've got money, you can be great at marketing. I'm looking for great organic marketing, great relationship with audience, great organic presence. They were there long before that they were selling something online. I'm looking for the hallmarks of someone that genuinely has a true community of supporters. That's what I'm looking for. Someone that's got north of 1 million followers on Instagram. Look out for people that pay for accounts. Again, money can bypass these things, but there's a skill of discernment to be able to spot what's real organic. And then the other factor, fulfillment. On the receiving end of the service or product that's happening online, how many client reviews and testimonials can I find that are real, that are honest, and what are they saying? Now, as a point, you're always going to get bad reviews. Yeah, you're always going to get some bad reviews are fake. Like you get fake good reviews, some bad reviews are fake. You've literally got little weasels of competitors that will go in and like try and sabotage your business. Welcome to the world. That's just the nature of reality. So putting all that to one side, how many reviews can I see? How many of these look real? How long have they been there for? Which platform are they hosted on? So great marketing paired with client success, to me, is a golden combo, because if the sales isn't that good, great for us, because we get to come in and close that gap if we're good. Someone like me, I can go in more of a leadership position. But even if I went in as a setter, I could raise that standards on the front end. I could manage the quality of prospect going to closers, etc. So I'm looking for those two things. If you can spot those two things, yeah, get a pen, get a paper, fucking write it down, whatever it takes, yeah, get it in your bonds. Great marketing, great fulfillment. You're actually, to me, I'm heat seeker missile looking for people that don't have great sales processes. I'm like, boom, that's where I slot in. Don't talk to me about marketing. Don't want to know about it. Ain't my lane. Talk to me about more client success. Yes, but client success is determined by sales. So I'm looking at those two things. Make your mind up. Do what you will with that information. But as a closing point on this, good luck. Really hard to find. It's not just because high ticket sales, it's just hard to find. It's really hard to find that. You're going to find that in sub 3% of, the market. You're going to find those two components. And sometimes you're going to find a company that has great marketing, but it doesn't mean they've got loads of followers and supporters. But their marketing is really good. It's organic, it's pure, and they're delivering on what the product is. You can do really well there. So if you don't have those things, this is part of the game. Embrace it. Expect it to be crazy. Sales, cold calling, leads up and down. Your calendar's fill one week, then it's not the next. Expect that coming in. You need to be warned about that here. It's kind of the reason we're doing this podcast, Gary, in one way. It's like, hey, well, why aren't people being transparent up front? We know that because they can get paid and just sell people and shit. But they don't run away with fear if you tell them the truth up front. And if they do, they're never going to fucking make it anyway, because those are the chargebacks. Those are the shit clients. So if you take anything, embrace the chaos. If you've got the leverage, find those two combinations. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it better myself. I mean, it's so difficult, right, to find these things, but the people that do persevere would rather me tell them up front that it's going to be hard, or it's going to be easy, or this is what you're looking for, this is not what you're looking for, right? If I can give anybody a piece of advice in this space right now today, watch your back and do what your heart desires.
Watch your back. It's the watch your back section.
I mean, it's the truth. Like, you know, we've seen it a million times. Like, you got, yeah, I mean, you know, like, you got to do what your heart desires, but you got to watch your back at the same time, bro. I don't know what to tell you, but that's the nature of it. That's my advice of the day, Charlie.
So someone comes along like,
are you Gary Garland from the podcast?
yes, I am.
I was thinking about high ticket sales. Do you have any advice?
Watch your back. Watch your back. Yeah, like the truth is, you have to watch your back anyway. Period. You have to watch your back in this world. Did you know the theme of desperation was so important last week? There's this chronological order of episode expands on the knowledge base. What we'll archive as we continue to grow will be phenomenal. But the desperation, I mentioned something in that last podcast that desperate people will rob their own mum. So desperation, right? Not to get too deep into etymology, but desperation, D word, yeah? Desperation, deception, deceive, demon. There is a lower dense energy to someone that's desperate. Forget high ticket sales for a moment. Look at the fucking world. Look at the desperation where we're at across the board with how people behave. So the watch your back is kind of applicable everywhere. Tangibly to me, watching your back, how do I discern that? It's really hard to put into words because you build it through experience. If you're a little bit younger, you might not have been pained enough yet. Yeah, I would say if you're under 25, not taking away from the experiences you might have had at this stage, but it's like a lot changes as you get more time on Earth. But you'll spot the patterns in advance. You'll spot the patterns. And there's things I won't say on this podcast. But again, if you email, talk at High Ticket Snails, you go to highticketsnails.com, go in the Discord, whatever it is, you get into the ecosystem. You can ask these questions anytime you want. But there is things that you can look out for quite, clearly, massive red flags you can look for that will help you watch your back. Because if you don't, you will learn the hard way. The goal is to make the necessary mistakes to grow. Mistakes lead to mastery, but avoid the unnecessary mistakes from great guidance and leadership.
I think you got to treat any industry you're going into, whether you're becoming a nurse, a doctor, high ticket sales, whatever it is, regular corporate sales, becoming an accountant, whatever it is, like you got to treat it like dating, right? Like it's not much different. You're building a relationship. You're kind of sniffing it out, trying to figure out if it's the right fit or not. It's very much the job industry, whatever it is very much like relationships. There's going to be good relationships. There's going to be bad relationships. And that is ultimately what we're trying to figure out, where that good relationship was, right? Like the offer that Charlie brought me into, right? I wanted to work there for quite a while because before he even worked there, I knew about the company and I wanted to work there. I knew I could be successful there. Now there was things outside of it of why I left, right? But the success rate of me was in my own power because I knew the type of person I was and that I could sell that product easily. That's why like those relationships with people got me there. My own internal power and the path that I was looking to take, it aligned. The stars aligned for that position and it worked out, right? Long term. So
Yeah, sometimes the alignment is, you know, before I secured what contractually was a 6-figure base salary, I was, how do I say this? There was a window, and I send my PDF highlight reel basically. Since I joined High Ticket Sales, like my highlight reel. You should be building that if you're not already. But I have these gaps where I'm like, okay, I don't want to work with any teams. Let me just see where I'm at, see what clients I can like work with. I really care about personal relationships. I don't work with too many clients at one time. And I was working with one woman, doing great work. And at the time I was looking to secure some new clients. This time I was in Croatia. And there was at least 2 that come to my mind. 2 people that were on the cusp of wanting to work. And this is an important indicator. I wasn't fully ecstatic to work with them. Something didn't feel fully aligned. And I didn't. But what's important for the audience to know is how much I was lowballing myself in terms of value, like what I basically was pricing, the lowball of pricing. And it when one of these individuals, particularly, that I knew was a nightmare because I'd worked with them before in a different capacity, when they didn't even, I don't even think they got back to me. Which, like, I talk about this all the time, but this doesn't mean it, like, you're immune to it. This is the reality of direct experience. So I didn't secure those clients. And there was a moment I was thinking, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it can be irritating. And then 2 weeks later, I got offered a 6-figure base salary. And I was like, oh, that's why. It all made sense immediately. As soon as that happened, I was like, oh, fucking hell. Thank fuck I didn't work with those fucking clients. Because I wouldn't have had the bandwidth, the space, and I also wouldn't have put my name in the hat for the particular position. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And I'd experienced that a few times, but that was like a really big one. Because one of the best things that you can get in sales is an untapped level of commission. Sure. But that's like saying, hey, I love the idea, Gary, of for Gary's birthday, we're going to have a barbecue, we're going to get some food, we're going to get a couple of beers, we're going to have a fucking great time. We're going to spend $4,000 on the party, but it's outside and you don't control the weather. It's like, that can be destroyed. But when you go into a base salary, you're like, no matter what happens here, I've got the security and the stability of this income coming in every month. That's very helpful. When I secured that, it really, really enforced, and I say this to students all the time, sometimes the best result for you is not securing a role. And you have to embrace, some people will think this sounds like, oh, woo, woo. Fuck you. The reality is, like, if it's not meant for you, you're doing the work. We're assuming here that you're doing the inputs. If it's not meant for you, it's actually the greatest thing for you. Honestly. And you won't realize it. And you'll be pushed to the absolute limit. This is how life works. You'll be pushed to the absolute limit. And when you think this can't get any worse, it will get a little bit worse. And then all of a sudden it will ease up. And you'll be like, oh, it wasn't so bad actually. Or that was worthwhile. And that's why stay focused, don't quit is a very powerful mantra to have as you're going through this space. Because if you don't have that, there's Gary, I think you've seen this, you know, the image of the guy. He's like digging underground. He's looking for the diamonds. He's like an inch away from the diamonds. And then he's like turned back because he's given up.
Right.
That is such a powerful image of this space to understand. Sometimes you dodge bullets and you don't even realize that you've dodged bullets.
Yeah.
And then other times, you know, you're in a situation where, or we were talking about it, private conversation, but just before this episode, sometimes you're not receiving what you want to receive because you're not ready for it. And that's a good thing. Because if you get given the opportunity and you weren't prepared for it, it can fuck you up. Yeah. I can think of many examples of that, but like, what do you think, Gary? Is that like something you've experienced before personally?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's been times where I've went for jobs in the past and I didn't get them, you know, and you just wonder like why, right? And then a better opportunity comes along and smacks you in the face. And that's the one you get. It's because destiny wanted you to go in a different path, but you were just closed-minded. And again, that could go back to some desperation too, right? Because you're like, I just need money today. Like you said, your comfortability once you had that base salary was a lot easier, right? You know, I've been most of the jobs I've had have been salaried positions, right? High ticket, not so much. I had one salary, I think, in the time I was in it. I just worked a lot and made it work. But I'll tell you what, salespeople will give you more. This is for all those business owners out there. They will give you more if you give them a little bit. You know, like you don't want to control them, don't want to micromanage them. And I think for me and you specifically, our leadership skills are very high. How many times you walk into a business to start working there as a setter or a salesperson, and you're like, man, their process is terrible. I could fix this in 10 minutes, but they won't listen. That happens all the time, right? Because the way that we operate is just different. And that's why we're sitting here today talking to other people about the space and what they need to do to be successful and how we can help them do that. Is because we were destined for a lot more. We've said this a million times. Than to sit there and just sell. Not that neither one of us can't do it. We can do it all day. But our job in this world, in our full intuition of what we need to do with life, is to go and help other people be successful. My whole job, like even in the corporate world, when I was a team lead, a manager, you know, my last job, I had close to 25, 30 people underneath me, right? My job was to build every one of them up to help them hit their goals. Even here today on the High Ticket Sales podcast, the people that we work with every day, my job is to build them up and get them to the next level in one way, shape, or form. It may not be directly coaching or whatever. One way, I want to make their lives better. And that's ultimately, I think, what me and Charlie have been trying to do for years with the people that we've worked with.
Yeah. I'm picturing also just, you know, many of those experiences that they're like one of the main experiences that really started to change my situation when I came into the space. Practically, this is what I did, just so people know. I joined a team, immediately connected with the CEO, which was kind of between me and the sales manager at the time. The conflict was, you know, I'm keeping this very short and I'm trying to like not share certain details, but basically I trod on those toes. He had brought me into the team and I hadn't yet like done a lot. This was like a couple of days in, but I had immediately made this connection with the CEO, which was great, phenomenal. But I wasn't doing any of the work. And there was a part of me, and I came in as a setter. Again, this is what I call staircasing. This is like the Trojan horse. And I learned a very valuable lesson. I had like this conflict. I was like, why is there always some bullshit here? And at the time, it was the sales manager, of which to this day, when I look back at that, I'm like, yeah, I respect that a lot. I actually, you know, should have shut, this is my own advice, shut your fucking mouth, know your role, do the work, and then, and only then, come and talk to me. And I did that. I broke a record. I dominated the CRM. I was over 800% more effective than the setter that was second on the leaderboard. Real statistics. I set definitely 12. I set definitely like 12 appointments that week. Few of them closed first week on dials. And after that first week, basically, I showed up, didn't try too hard to put myself in promoted positions, but just because I stayed there, I was present. It just fucking happened because everyone else dropped like flies around me, and these windows open up. So you stay persistent. I didn't go in there with an ego wanting to be a leader. I went in there maybe thinking that, pretty much thinking that all the time. If I'm honest with you, Gary, I'm always thinking, if I don't think I'm in a room and I'm like, I could make this better, I think I'm in the wrong room. You know, I'm like, I probably shouldn't be here. You guys, you got this sorted out. Respect. I'm supposed to be in rooms that I can improve. So I did that. And in 4 months, I was a partner and I secured a base salary partnership with that. Basically, to become a new consultant client, what I was doing before high ticket sales. But I want the audience to know you're hearing the internal conviction, belief, the understanding, the experience, the constant, repetitive, proven, time over time again. I increased that cash collected percent by 306%. There was a ridiculous level of impact I made with that company. I know what has happened from metrics, but at the time, we're just sitting team meetings, not say anything, wait till everyone else spoke at the end. If they asked me, I'll give them an opinion. Everyone be like, oh, fucking hell. Yeah. And I just fucking installed myself into their subconscious for 12 weeks and secured that partnership. Broke the records, broke the, I think Amy's there. So Amy's like crushed a lot of my records now. She's dominated my records. But there's one record that she hasn't beat, which is the amount of cash collected in one deal. And they're like, this stuff was just like, well, how are you doing this? And if you can prove your worth, first of all, prove your worth. Someone asked me this week, and they'll be listening now and they'll know. They're like, should I renegotiate? Yeah, I feel like I've done all this work and I've only been compensating this. Do you think I should pull them up on this? And I said, no. I was like, never. Yeah. The pain that you're feeling now and the feeling that you want more, you take forward, you don't go back with, because you only have that level of return and what you've been compensated because you didn't negotiate and leverage that up front. Why? Because you didn't have the skills, you didn't have the experience, you didn't have that. If you go back, it tarnishes a lot that you've done. You have to feel the pain and going, I'm worth more here, and build that as you move forward. Never go back with it.
Yeah, because if you go back, it's going to make you look bad. And then second off, like if you take that momentum forward, right, the next opportunity is going to come. You're going to take that momentum into that. You're going to crush it. You're going to negotiate it better, things like that. Now, there is always that power that owner realizes it and comes back to you and gives you more, right? But sometimes that growth moves on to the next best thing. It closes one door, opens another one. It is the nature. People in this space, like as big as the high ticket space is, I feel like you know more and more people very quickly as you're in it. Like you just your connections build very quickly. Wouldn't you say, Charlie?
Yeah. If your karma's clear as well.
Mm-hmm. That's
because you can have this. You could almost be like a sales prostitute, and you're picking up all this filthy karma. You're exchanging all this energy with people. You never leave on good terms. I'm so glad when people come to me in the DMs and they say, I'm in this situation. What do you think I should do? Should I just leave? And I'm like, never just leave. Just be transparent. Try to give at least 2 weeks notice. Be transparent. Lay it out on the line. Say, hey, here's the reasons. This is actually another story. This week, this guy's like, yeah, I want to leave. Do you think I should just bounce, move on to another thing? I went, no. Not if you're asking me, no. What you have to do is, first and foremost, understand that you are being observed by something higher. Yeah, I'm just going to define that now as karma. So if you don't leave on good terms, on good business, that carries with you. So good courtesy. Doesn't matter if the teams fucks you over, right? Or you think they are. It's not about the team. It's about integrity. You do this for yourself. 2 weeks notice. And you lay out clearly why you're leaving. And what I said to this guy, I said, out of interest, do you feel like you've communicated these things in advance to them leading up until this point? Because I would imagine that's probably why you want to leave. And he was like, no, you're right. I haven't said anything. Roles, accountability, communication, trust. Those are the 4 principles of relationships. If you don't communicate, you never know what can change. This is the number 1 problem. It fucking irritates me. There's some business owners that I've worked with that fucking drive me insane. I'm like, hey, I'm super open. Communicate everything with me. No, everything's fine. Bomb. And then some bullshit happens because of whatever, that's something that they've maybe associated with me, but they haven't communicated with me. They haven't been bothered to even fucking respond to me. If you don't communicate in this space, to me, again, those are the standards. I'm not working with flakes that can't communicate. You have to be able to say, this is what's going on for me. Let's work with this. We're a team. And that individual might realize when he does that, he actually doesn't want to leave that team. He actually goes, oh shit, I didn't realize if I'd said these things, you guys are actually willing to change ABC. And I'm a part of the team on the front line. And this helps the business all together. And if you can't do that, fucking hell. Like, stay away from it.
Those CEOs put their pants on one leg at a time like we do, right? Like, you cannot be afraid to say something. And what's the worst they're going to do? Fire you? Well, you're already ready to quit anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a win-win situation no matter how you look at it. Either gets fixed or you move on. You know, I mean, I will say, like, where you're at, Charlie, like the 2-week notice thing is probably more prevalent than, you know, it is here in the US nowadays. Like, here in the US, it's a little cutthroat. I mean, I'll be honest, my mom put her 2 weeks notice in a week ago Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And that Monday after, they walked her out. They didn't honor the 2-week notice. Mm-hmm. So like that's the US standard right now. They're like, you know, I do respect giving it. I do.
Yeah.
But in different cultures and different areas of the world, it may be different. I know in some, like, I think in India or over in that area, you have to give like 3 months notice, like straight up, like, because it's wild. You know what I mean? And I'm not even joking, because I used to hire people over in that area at the one company I worked for, and they did it. They have to give multiple months notice. But, you know, communication is critical no matter what role you're in. And if you see a way to fix something or make somebody more money, or you make yourself more money, gotta speak up, man. So I think on that note, Charlie, I think it's almost time. It's time for the question of the week, isn't it?
It's time for question of the week. I'm going to ask Gary a question. He's going to ask me a question. The question this week is, Gary, if you have DNA strand of NP98, which particular... Gary, my question for you this week is, the themes that we spoke about this week have been really like choosing the right path, how to understand, you know, certain opportunities that you don't land are for you, alignment. Basically, this seems to be encompassing know where you're at individually and find that personalized path for you to actually achieve success. And my question is, where is the best place? You can answer this. This is open, yeah? You can answer this however you want. This is financially, like physically. Where's the best place that they can actually start then?
You know, honestly, I think your diet and exercise regimen. As somebody who has struggled with weight my whole life, lost a ton of weight. I'm at the smallest I've been in probably 20 years right now. I think like your mind is much clearer the cleaner you eat, the more you exercise. Keeping that clean mind will help you down the right path that you want to go. Get rid of the brain fog. Caffeine's still good. I drink a lot of coffee still. I'm not, you know, maybe it's not good for you, but, you know, I have my clutches too. But I really do believe in the things that you eat, drink, You know, like honestly, I don't drink alcohol at all. Stuff like that. I really do think on how you treat your body is the number one thing to be successful in anything you do, especially in the high ticket space. Well,
I wasn't expecting you to say that. So really, like the best place you can start is with your own self, with your own energy, with your own
absolutely.
behaviors of discipline.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. All right, Gary, what you got for me? What you got for me, bruv?
I think the question this week for you, Charlie, is what is your next goal in building yourself, whether it's spiritually, mentally, physically? What is your next goal?
My next goal. Yeah, great question. For me, all of it, like I'm working on all of them. You know, people talk about mental health. Mental health to me is secondary to spiritual health. So I need to make sure in spirit would be aligned with purpose and meaning. Like having purpose, meaning to do things. Everything I do is intentional. I was even speaking to Amy about this today whilst we were eating dinner, just before this podcast. I'm obsessively systemized in my life. I'm actually tracking this. I'm actually building, little secret for the audience, I'm building my life's work into a software that you can use the frameworks for to make sure that you're able to focus and channel your purpose and your energy into manifesting things. That comes down to service for me. So the reason I'm really good at serving is because I take care of myself first. It's actually very aligned with what you said. We built the home gym recently. You know, last week, I've got it all tracked, but like last week, this won't transfer to like people understand it fully, but I did about 88 sets last week. I did about 41 rounds of 2-minute boxing. Like I'm working all the basics. Why that's become easier is because I'm now set in this foundation in this country rather than having to travel around Europe all the time. So for me, I'm turning 33 in August. And what I'm seeking, Gary, to be honest, is peace. I don't want more. I want less. I don't want to work with more people. Like, people will know about it more. We're going to open the floodgates for people to come through the ecosystem that solves the problems that we do transparently address. But it won't feel like I'm doing more. It's not going to feel too different. You know, and it'll be at a proximity that actually is sustainable, manageable. It doesn't feel like work. That's everyone's dream, right? How do I live, earn? It doesn't feel like work. I don't feel like I'm working a day of my life. So I'm always working towards that. But honestly, man, Gary, similar to you, I think that's why like you're on the other side of this pod as well. Family. I'm not going to say too much and reveal too much personal stuff, but me, Amy, Shadow right now, just the house and the base that we've got in this country, the simple things in life, routine, structure, peace. There's a few things, even though like I'm very pure in my heart, I don't wrong people. You know, I'm very big on integrity. I'd rather die. I'd literally rather die. There's way worse things than death. And to me, that's living out of this desperate, no integrity place. But there's things still like, I would say like low vibrational karma in my life that I still need to clear, because we're all facing those battles. So I'm just working on that simplicity to build an operation and an empire. I've been building this, just so people know, been in high ticket sales for 3 years. Yeah. 3 years. It's like, it's nothing. It is 50% of high ticket sales lifespan, considering we're only in 2026 and it started really in 2020. But you have to understand what I've been doing for the last 20 plus years. So I'm moving towards peace, but I appreciate the question. It's very reflective for me. Peace, simplicity. And you know when we was talking about watch your back. Yeah, I only want to be around people that I don't have to do that. Like, it's established, it's tested, it's tried. And you couldn't pay me, bro. You could not pay me nearly enough to work with someone I'm just not aligned with. So
I appreciate that, Charlie. And you know what? At the end of this podcast today, if you're watching on YouTube, go down and comment the word simplicity. That's all we want. Just build that energy, the simplicity of energy down in the comments. So, Charlie, I look forward to next week and another banger episode.
guys, if you're watching this visually, you're about to see clip of the week that will play out. You can access these clips because I make these memes like a majesty. We're going to play out, but yeah, talk at highticketsnails.com. But you can go to highticketsnails.com now. You can just go there. Everything's there. Go there, join Monday Mail. I'm going to write those emails every single Monday. When you receive them, I've literally wrote them like a minute before. Yeah, it's live, fresh, up to date. And yeah, I get really good feedback on my other mailing list. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Appreciate you guys, listeners, regular listeners. I love you guys, man. Gary, I appreciate you. Clip of the week will play out. Peace.